All right, it's election night here. I cannot exaggerate the stakes involved, the biggest election of my lifetime. And we're starting to get some returns. We mentioned before Indiana and Kentucky, as expected, were called for Donald Trump. Vermont called for Joe Biden. And I believe now, Andrew, you've got some new states to come in.
Yeah, the most partisan Republican state in the country is going Republican, West Virginia, and it's 5 electoral votes going for Donald Trump as we come back to the big board and we add that to the list. That brings the electoral count right now to 24-3 for Joe Biden. Now, we're expecting a lot of movement over the next hour or so because 5 key states are going to begin reporting. These are the late poll numbers that we got from the early states, but Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, all should begin reporting their results within the next 30 minutes. Florida and Georgia are already beginning to give some results out. North Carolina should be coming a little bit after 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock will also begin to get some results out of Ohio as well, and Texas should start reporting at 9 o'clock. One key in those 5 states, Rich, Donald Trump really has no path to the White House without winning all of those states. If he loses one of them, he's going to have to make up for that in the Midwest, where he has not been polling nearly as well as he has in those states.
And Andrew, right now, on the Florida front, they're about a percentage point separating Biden up. The most recent numbers I'm seeing right now for about 100,000 votes, give or take, with about 15-20% of the electorate still to go. So that's going to be a close one.
It is. It'll be interesting to see where the remaining votes are. And Florida does not accept votes by mail after today, so it's not like there are going to be additional votes that are to be counted in corners of the room. It's just going to be a matter of where the turnout are from the rural areas versus the more urban areas in Florida.
And, you know, everybody thinks of Florida as a joke with hanging chads after 2000, understandably, but they've done a great job in terms of processing the votes ahead of time here and having a lot of background in this. So far, they've conducted themselves well. The other state that we might get not too long from now is Georgia, right? And that people didn't think that could have been possibly in play for Democrats, but it's still very possible, at least if you believe the polls, it could break for Biden. Yeah, the polls actually were breaking towards Biden as we got towards the end of the election, and he did relatively well compared to some other swing states. Again, it's a rural versus urban vote battle there, and really the difference is going to be in the suburbs. It should be interesting to see what the results are in Georgia. We should get final results out of Georgia a little bit before we get them out of North Carolina. Very good, Andrew. Thank you very much. And again, I'm joined by Chris Shays. And Chris, let's go back to the phone lines. We'll get some reaction. And let's start off with Michael calling us from Boston. Michael, you voted Biden tonight or today, excuse me. And I'm curious, were you ever conflicted? Was there ever a point that you weren't sure? Did COVID push it for you, or were you always, there was no chance that Trump was going to get your vote this time?
I was never going to vote for Trump, but COVID definitely pushed it for me.
And I'm curious. We talk about different demographics here. Maybe you can use your own family as an example. A lot of seniors felt the handling of COVID changed their mind, or the tone of the president on how he talked about things, or suburban housewives that may have considered voted for Trump in the past. The coarseness may have turned them off. Have you seen anyone in your life that's changed their opinion as to how they were going to vote in the last couple of years because of the behavior of the president?
Yeah, I definitely have some friends who changed their opinions. Like, some were going to vote for Trump, but ever since this whole COVID stuff happened, they definitely changed their minds.
All right, Michael.
Can I ask him a question? Is he
sure.
On? If COVID didn't happen and the economy was, continuing to go forward or maintaining at a high level, would you have considered voting for Trump?
No. I never liked Trump. Never did. Never will.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the call. And, to me, one of the harder things to get our arms around is normally we're in an economic recession right now. If you look at the amount of people that are out of work, and for me, put yourself back in Congress. good and decent people can disagree about the size of the package that should have come out from Congress in terms of the second stimulus. But what I never understood politically, and if you take morality out of this, because the president doesn't care about deficits, he doesn't care about fiscal policy or anything else, why wouldn't it have been good politics for him to say, even the Republican Senate to say, okay, fine, Nancy Pelosi's pushing for a $3 trillion package. Let's split the difference somewhere, 1.2 trillion, and let's call it let's have a deal. Why was it good politics, let alone all the people getting hurt in the interregnum, for McConnell to say, I'm not even going to take this up until the beginning of the year, and the president not putting his fist on the table and said, God damn it, you are going to consider this. This is going to help out people. I'll get political credit for it before they choose Biden or me. I mean, why wasn't that political malpractice not getting this done?
Because Hannity and company probably were against it. I'm sorry, but that's the answer I'm giving you. It's, in other words, this president could have gotten elected if he had nationalized the response. Most presidents are hungry for an opportunity to show incredible leadership and take control. And he could have taken control, and he could have nationalized the response. He could have made sure that the states were going to get whatever they needed, and he would have gotten reelected. I'm absolutely convinced of it.
I think going away. I think he would have completely. Let me bring Andrew back in, because we're getting some numbers called, and I know it's razor thin right now in Florida. Literally, I think 10,000 votes separating them, with 80% of the electorate in, with Biden with the slimmest of margins. But Andrew, what are you seeing?
Well, we're not calling Florida right now. In fact, we're going to call the first state in our RNN viewing area tonight, the great state of Virginia, and it's 13 electoral votes going to Joe Biden. That is not a surprise. The speed with which, on a normal election, I'd call this early in Virginia would be surprising, but given all the early voting, that seems like it's not that much of a factor. So we'll add those 13 electoral votes from Virginia to the total, and there we have it at 24-16 for President Biden ahead also right now. I also want to take you to Kentucky, where we have another call to make out of Kentucky. Mitch McConnell has won his seat, defeating Amy McGrath in what had been a somewhat spirited challenge. McConnell reelected to the Senate. We do not know yet whether his position will be as majority leader or minority leader, but Mitch McConnell is heading back to Washington. And before I kick it back to you, Rich, one more update to do. We just got early voting numbers out of Ohio. Now, this is going to factor for about 5 to 6% of their vote, 68% to 30% for Joe Biden in early voting. That's about 160,000 vote lead. So over the rest of the night, from the day of voting, Donald Trump will try to eat into Biden's 160,000 vote lead in Ohio. Back to you.
And Andrew, just a quick preview for folks for the 8 o'clock hour. Which states do you think we're going to learn?
That's a tough question to answer. In terms of the swing states, I suspect we might get a decision in Georgia, and we'll come close in Florida, I think perhaps in the next hour.
Get a little after that, North Carolina, right?
It would be interesting to know, what did we think Biden would get in Virginia, and what did he get? Did he beat the bet or not do as well?
Well, we're still very early in the vote tabulation in Virginia. We'd have to wait much later in the night, Chris, before we really get a sense of what the votes are. It's too soon in terms of vote total or percentage splits to really make any effective
But interesting
comparisons.
early numbers out of Ohio, especially that margin. Andrew, thank you very much. Okay, back to the phone lines. Let's go to Mary, who's calling us out of Verplanck in New York. Mary, go ahead. You're on the line. Go ahead, Mary. Oh, we lost her. Remember, everybody, turn down those TV sets. George out of Asbury Park in New Jersey. Go ahead, George.
Hello?
Yes. Who'd you vote for, George, and why?
I voted for Biden. And the reason why I voted for him, I can, I'm a 64-year-old African-American male, and I had that issue with, just this flippant response to the, the racism that, that's peeled off the skin of the country, and also for his handling of the COVID situation. Could have did that a little bit better. Could have followed the science. I read about that in like January or December, when it was a few cases in over in China, they didn't have quite a name for it. So here's a guy who's like the leader of the free world with all the information. He just dismissed the information. So I'm not too much worried about the racism part. I deal with that on regular basis. I run across that, but also the systematic destruction of the democratic process. If that gets destroyed and taken apart, we don't have a chance for anything.
And first of all, thank you very much for the call, George. And I have been struck by the people who have said to me from communities of color, listen, fine, guy's a racist. I've dealt with people like that in my life, but it's, and I'm like, but? And they're like, oh yeah, it's just how casually is about after what happened with George Floyd, and about suggesting that that the shooting that we saw in Kenosha, that hey, maybe the kid had a reason, even though he had a gun illegally, wasn't even in his home state, and killed 2 people. I mean, the casualness of that. But it was more COVID. It was more indifference to people that are hurting because of the pandemic, that have lost their jobs through no fault of their own. I've just been shocked for me as to people being like, well, I kind of expected that from him. But and to me that shows me still how far we have to go as a country on that front. But nonetheless, it just shocked me. All right, we are going to take a very quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined, in fact, by Tom Steyer, who you may remember ran for president for a while, is on the Democratic side in the primary process. And we're also going to have a lot more numbers coming in. As Andrew told you, some states getting close to being called, hugely important, Florida among them. More polls are going to also close in about 3 minutes time here, so we'll have more returns there as well. And of course, we'll have more of your reaction. If you haven't joined us on the phone lines, please do so. You see the toll-free number, 888-766-2428. That spells out RNN Chat, east of the Mississippi and out west here. Please give us a call there as well. You see the toll-free number, and it also spells out at the bottom as CATX. All right, so give us a holler, everybody. More of your reaction right ahead.